So I'd like to introduce our first panel.
Not ready yet.
Now
you're ready. 3, 2, go.
So I'd like to introduce our first panel on Calexit and the work we've been doing to build bridges. As Governor Brown says, we build bridges while Americans build walls. With the LGBTQ community, it's going to be led by Hannah Miyamoto with Dawn, Daniel, and Neil, who are also there. And they'll be talking about the alliances that we built and the great work the Secede with Pride banner developed by Ms. Miyamoto has done. So without further ado, Hannah Miyamoto.
Hello, everyone. So, unlike other people who will be speaking in these moments, I can only really speak. I don't speak for an organization. I'm going to speak mostly as an academic, if you don't mind. I should let you know that I'm Hannah Miyamoto. I live in Oceanside, California. And I happen to have a master's degree in women's studies and a master's degree in sociology, which means I'm quite adept with LGBT history and lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, and allies existence. The 2 points I want to bring up, and very briefly, if I may, is that the LGBT community is a important, and I should say LGBT and allies community, is an important constituency for the California independence movement, number one. Number two, those persons who are not in, who don't feel or not, I think probably are all supportive of LGBT, so you're all allies of LGBT equality and existence. But what we should be aware of, and I urge you to learn more about LGBT history, and because it provides a good model for how social movements get formed. Right on. Thank you very much. So the first thing, as far as the constituency, and by the way, all social movements, develop their become stronger through gaining, representing and being. All social movements are really coalitions of existing interest groups, and the LGBT movement is, for instance, no different. If you go way back into about for instance, the lesbian movement, particularly, got started about 1970 with the woman-identified woman being released by the radical lesbians in 1970, but about 3 years earlier, you had women liberation movement getting started. You might consider that the feminist movement, but that's a little bit different. But they were originating from women who were active in the campaigns against the war in Vietnam, and of course the civil rights movement. Were feeling that they weren't treated fairly within that movement. So you go from lesbian movement, before that women's movement, before that civil rights movement. And so another one, of course, and then of course, this is one reason why, of course, why the gay movement and the lesbian movement have separate histories, because the gay movement starts mostly from the homophile movement. Here we are in Los Angeles. We're very close to Silver Lake district of Los Angeles, and you don't know that Silver Lake used to be like gay central in the 1960s. And then they'd come down to Sunset Boulevard and go to the clubs. And of course, back then, you could get arrested by the police if they thought you were gay, here in Los Angeles and in San Francisco. But so the first protests for LGBT, at that time, homophiles or the rights of the homosexual or whatever, and we're talking 1965, again, inspired by the civil rights movement in the South, of course, but it's going there, and it takes 4 years before Stonewall occurs in New York City, and so for 4 years the gay lesbian movement is in fact based in California. It's the whole core of it is in California, and California inspires New Yorkers, whether they know it or not. They're inspired by it. And truly, they are inspired by it, because the demonstrations are in San Francisco and they're in Time magazine, and people in New York City are reading this saying, maybe we should do something like this. So the other thing is the pride flag, the bear flag, that's all San Francisco as well. And that's how we're bringing that forward. If you say that, well, you can't have a California independence movement, well, there's a gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender pride movement, which started. And from the same thing, not from large corporations putting in huge amounts of money to create something out of nothing, like green turfing or anything like that, but ordinary people who just felt that this is wrong. Ordinary people who maybe didn't feel directly impacted by it, but by goodness, they felt personally impacted by it because their friend was being discriminated against and being hassled by the police, or being threatened with losing their jobs and things like that. And then I also should point out that part of the struggle, part of the reason why the movement for LGBT rights is strong in California is because of the persecution of LGBT people. I mean, you go directly from the Tenderloin and North Beach busts to Harvey Milk becoming city supervisor in San Francisco, to the Briggs Amendment trying to roll back LGBT rights across the entire state of California. And then, of course, the assassination of Milk and Moscone, and then after that, the White Night riot in San Francisco in direct reaction to that murder. And to this day. So I want to point that out, that movement is, if you're interested, I encourage you to learn more about the LGBT history, to understand that, that's how you do it. And also, I guess I'm going to talk about is, part of how you do it is, I talked about the pride flag, which we all know is the symbol. These 6 colors. This was, again, originated in San Francisco. I remember now, it's San Francisco. It came from San Francisco. It, by the way, though, has a connection to the hippie movement, which is another San Francisco contribution to the world. There was the freak flag in the middle 60s, and then it became the rainbow, and the idea of rainbows and colors and going beyond to people and not thinking about race. Because think about the mid 60s, right? When it was Negroes and white people. And then browns, whatever they were. Right. Not it would seem so far away. But yeah, they create, again, an ordinary person in California created the flag, won their own sewing machine, brought it out to see if people would like it. People liked it a lot. And now it's being produced by the yard in China. But it's the symbol. We recognize that symbol. And some of the other symbols, you see transgender pride flags being flown around. Again, it's the colors, it's the image, it's the symbol. The very name LGBT pride is all you have to say now. You don't have to say lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex allies. Because we just say LGBT, right? I remember a time when we used to just say LGB. Or just LG, or we just said gay, and when lesbians were just gay women, okay. So, anyways, I guess that's I don't have a lot more to say, but unless there's some questions. But those are the 2 things again that look to the movement that for that constituency is a ready-made constituency for our movement, and they need to be aware that the conservative movement in the United States very much targets LGBT, tries to other them, tries to threaten them, threatens their jobs, threatens their entries even into colleges, threatens. I remember a time when it was very difficult if you weren't directly married or the brother or sister of someone to get into a hospital to visit someone. I remember that's an example. That's something that we've changed now. Now, if your lover is in hospital, if your partner is in hospital, you don't, I'm talking about domestic partnership. That's another thing California created, right? But without domestic partnership, you can be sure if you say something like, that's my friend, they'll say, I understand. And they'll let you see them in the emergency room, so they're not alone in the emergency room. There's just so many things we can think about, and I can see a little bit moistening eyes out there. I see people are realizing that I'm reminding them that that's where we're coming from, and so that's it starts California and particularly California. Other states, Hawaii, of course, was the first with the marriage issue, but it was California for a lot of other things. And now Washington State now has non-gendered on. You can have a license. You can have your identification without gender at all. So that's something. Now they're ahead of us now. So anyways, I guess I can't say much more. I'm sorry, I'm not better prepared. Thank you very much for listening and give us a thought.
So what would be good is if we could have you stay there and have a panel discussion on how did you get permission? Whose idea was it to go out to the LGBTQ pride parade?
Okay.
How did you get permission? How did you develop the posters? And then I'd like to hear from everybody in the panel, what was your reaction? I mean, we just watched video of you guys while she was talking with the poster. And you had a 100-foot clearance. Were people happy? Were they excited? What was the reaction you had? So Hannah, how did you pull it off in the panel? What was the reaction when you were in the streets?
Well, before you answer that, these guys are watching it and they're texting in and they can't hear you, so I'm gonna move the camera.
Oh, we got
a little
Facebook
bit.
Live?
Yeah, this is live.
Wow.
Oh, really?
Wow,
I'm gonna move a
awesome.
little bit closer to you. Hey, can you adjust this down so those that can facing someone here? Thanks, buddy.
All right. Hello, California. Didn't know you were on live there. Okay. Oh, yeah. So question was asked or something was brought up. We had a significant triumph in July in San Diego. It's the last. There's several Pride Fest marches, by the way, and if you don't know that, in Southern California, the first is Long Beach, and then the big one west. Then there's West LA, and San Diego comes in July, early July. And what we did there was we formed a contingent. The question is, how do we do it? Well, the simple fact is, since we had no money and we didn't have enough time in advance, but you did have me, and I happen to be part of. Thank you, and I'm of course involved with the LGBT community. I knew the right people to contact, so I simply said, "Hey, the center, the LGBT Center of San Diego. I knew that they encourage people. A number of organizations will encourage just people come off the street, join them in the parade." I said, "Hey, can we volunteer? Do you need some people to march with you?" "Yeah, sure." The only thing we had to offer was we had to wear T-shirts. We had to wear their shirt. So we had the green shirt that said the center. And then they didn't seem to care the fact that we carried a big banner which said, "Succeed with Pride." This is not the one. Well, this is one of the banners that was being carried out down the street. Thank you very much. "Succeed with Pride" was the slogan. And yeah, I guess I'll take credit for it. That was mine. By the way, well, having been to many Pride rallies in my time, Pride marches in my time, I knew that corporations particularly will find a way to tie their product or their service, whatever they're trying to sell, to the LGBT cause, right? So I knew that, and it will have something like with something blank with pride. Drive with Pride might be Toyota's speech or whatever it may be. They'll find something else. And then I just realized that succeed and secede sound so similar that it just comes along. Now, as far as the other things we had was, I don't know if you can see this there. There you go. But this is one of the signs that was held up, and this is another slogan I probably have some responsibility for creating, but maybe I could run it through now to understand the significance of it. Of course, this is "Long Live California, Free California." I will claim that since 2016, there's an article out there on the internet where I say it's the Free California movement and not the Calexit movement, that we're not a secession movement, we're an independence movement.
That's right.
And for international law purposes, and we'll also have a chance to talk about that, what that really means and why that's important. We are literally a national liberation movement. And that's part of them. Maybe way back, yes, California was saying California is a nation, not a state. So that was the same thing. And if you're a nation, not a state, that means that the liberation of the nation is equivalent or to California becoming independent. Also, if you didn't know up there, that's the this is, I don't take credit for that. That's I was given permission. No, it's a great seal. But most people don't realize the state of California seal has actually got a woman on it, and she's Minerva, the Greek goddess of war. She's the Greek goddess of war and of wisdom. And I think I'm sorry, she's the Roman goddess. Minerva is a Roman goddess of war and wisdom, and she's equivalent to Athena. I like to think of her as Athena, frankly, because I think war and wisdom, or military, or strength and wisdom, are exactly what we are really all about. And also remember the Greek myth. She was born from a live woman. She was an adult, and that's why she's a symbol of California. Way back in the 1849-50 period, the Californians said, we are a state without becoming a territory, without becoming unorganized territory. Bam, here we are, a state out of nothing. And that was a way of expressing that, by saying, just like Athena just came out of nothing, and just there she was, a full-grown woman with all the faculties of a full-grown woman. So this is California. But the other thing was, there were a lot of Hispanic people at that march, as you might expect, because San Diego, if you don't know, it's full. It's a lot of course, the state of California, 38% Hispanic, and they were there supporting the LGBT cause, and no doubt about it. But when they saw this sign, I saw people. I got people and tried to lead cheers. We all did, to say, "Viva California! Viva California! Viva California!" I should pronounce it better, right? Viva California! And there were people coming off the sidewalk, they were shouting, "Viva California! Viva California!" and raising their fists, and people were like almost in tears. And it was like, that was just a moment. I mean, imagine a year or two from now when that becomes a slogan chanted all across the state. I mean, that will be like a moment that, Indiana and Kentucky, and they'll have to be like, wow, things have really changed. If we can achieve that, that's what we need to achieve. Now you've got a movement. In other words, and then the question will be, well, and how do you achieve it? Do you, is there a petition drive, or do we run a candidate, or do we just put a resolution in the legislature? So, but the point is also, just so you know, the colors are, of course, the colors of the Mexican flag. Yeah, the colors of the Mexican flag. So, and which is also there, because they're also the flag on. They're also the colors very similar to the colors on the California flag, if you didn't notice. Right, the red is the red stripe on the color. The green is the green that the grass that the bear is on, and the gold, of course, is to symbolize the golden state and our golden future. So, but this is an example, I guess, in general, about how we need to find ways to make our position clear through symbols. Also, to remember people that we shouldn't have to be getting at this stage, getting into big, long debates about, well, is it going to be a socialist country? Is there going to be one house or two houses in the legislature? Well, how would you have an independent California? We just have to get people to identify with California, which I guess maybe I will go full circle. When you think about it, the gay lesbian movement, the LGBT movement in this country, in the world, it's really people who identify as LGBT. Harvey Milk broke a lot of windows when he said, everyone has to come out, because he knew there were all kinds of gay people in San Francisco, and most of them were terrified to announce, certainly to walk down the street and say, "I'm gay." Okay, you got a problem with that? Yeah. But that's sort of the same thing. If we could get, there's 9 million people. As of 2017, the best we know, right? 32% of California registered voters who were asked, and they said they would support the peaceful independence of California. That is and that, my friends, is approximately 9 million of our fellow California residents. If you can get a fraction of those people to identify as Californians rather than Americans, right? saying Viva California or saying things like put on their car, or say a license plate holder that says I'd rather be in an independent California. Or you can think of a million ways they can express this. That's more important and more powerful, frankly. Then things like petition drives or ballot initiatives or bills in the legislature become second nature. The politicians will follow the people. Yeah. So there you go. So I know our friends here are all here, and they'll be all glad to tell you more about what it was like to be in that parade. We hope next year to be in more parades. We just didn't have enough time to plan. We want to do up the Bay Area because we think that the LGBT movement is just a ideal place to start, a constituency to draw in. And the allies, of course, let's not forget, right? I mean, if you had all the openly gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender people in San Diego or San Francisco in a parade, it wouldn't be a very impressive thing. It's the allies. It's really the allies that's where it matters. Thank you very much.
Oh,
yeah.
There.
Can I stand there?
You can put something on it. Okay, so
what to do.
I'd like to ask everybody, and we'll start with Neil, and then Dawn, and then Daniel. What was the experience you had? What was the reaction from the public there? You have a Secede with Pride banner. People have seen that. Maybe they haven't seen that before. What was the reaction and the experience that you had? And then we'll go back to Hannah. So Neil, and then I'll go over.
Well, for me, it was a tremendously positive experience. It started off just arriving at the staging area, and people were looking at our banners and saying, "Oh, what's that? What do you got there? Oh, that's pretty cool." Oh, we might be received well. Then we started out, and we had people volunteering from the crowd to carry the Viva California Libre banner and the No Concentration Camp banner.
Oh, this is another example of how you reach out to a constituency.
Now let's see if we can get it on for Shankhurst too.
Yeah. Oh, whatever. There you go. See?
There we go.
No concentration camp. No compost to concentration.
Dawn, what was your experience?
Hang on.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you know what's...
Okay, everybody smiling all the time, right through the parade. Just a joyful occasion. I tried to figure out while I was marching what people were reacting to. Everybody was all for the no concentration camp banners, but there was general applause. The Viva California Libre banner got a big reception and a strong, for people that liked it, a very strong reaction too. And when we were carrying this banner around with Independent California Secede with Pride, there was an even stronger reaction, but not as many people recognized it. But I think we've got some pretty good ground to build on. This is the most positive experience I've had since joining California Independence Movement.
Cool. Wow.
Don, you want to take over?
So, my name's Don Gomez.
Sorry again. Start again.
My name's Don Gomez. I am a heterosexual cis male ally of the LGBT community, so I'm really honored to be up here to represent my brothers and sisters from the LGBT community who are involved in the Calexit movement. And I actually had the privilege to design that banner with some advisement from my friends here at Independent California. As somebody who's not a member of that community, I don't really want to, saturate this discussion with my perception of things. It was my third San Diego Pride parade that I had attended, and I see it grow bigger every year and more open and inclusive every year. And but I did have some important takeaways. Now, for those that were there, they'll remember that there was a military flyover.
Yeah.
Now, from my understanding, that was the first time that a pride parade received a military flyover. That's huge. That's groundbreaking.
By the way, do you know where they came from?
Miramar?
That was the California Air National Guard.
Oh, see,
And the commandant of the California Air National Guard, that was their decision. That was their statement that they wanted to make. That we have F-15s and we're going to show you we've got air superiority fighters.
That's great. Yeah, and so, I mean, that just kind of, the fact that we've come full circle to the point, like Hannah said, where corporations are becoming involved in the LGBT pride movement, at least during, June and July.
At least 20 years. At least 20 years.
That they're now marketing to a community that's wide and respected, really kind of underscores what the California independence movement will be able to achieve if we continue to build coalitions out there in the community that, 40 years ago, like Hannah said, you could be, taken to jail right off the streets simply for being a gay person. Now, the military is willing to come and be a part of that event. There's a huge military, that's actually called the military contingent. You have a ton of people out there. They're not all of them are members of the LGBT community. You had a Marine Corps color guard out there. You had a Navy color guard out there.
Mm-hmm. Coast Guard even.
Coast Guard. And I just, as we push for California independence, we need to remember that, it might not be an idea that's popular now. New ideas are always scary for people, always. But when someone has a chance to meet someone that's in the California independence movement and they walk away from that interaction saying, that is somebody with a level head. That is somebody that I can respect. That's how we're going to be able to build it. And one of these days, we will have a California Independence Day parade that people will be proud to be a part of. So we need to continue to build. We need to continue to branch out and make friends. And it was great. Thank you, Hannah, for all the work that you did to get us involved with that. Because it was really a very moving experience to be able to support two communities that I really love at the same time. So
thank you, Don.
Thank you.
And before you go, thank you very much. Danny, before you start, I want to jive off and point it out. You'd mentioned about the military flyover. Yeah, that was 4 F-15s flying at treetop level over University Avenue from the length of it, and the roar of the crowd was incredible, and nobody even expected it. But I want to point out to you also that not only was the commandant of the California National Guard in San Diego, they held a re-enlistment ceremony in Balboa Park in San Diego. And they put all the pictures on the Flickr page for the National Guard. And I should point out that some of the National Guard members are openly transgender, even though that may seem like crazy, but we're doing this particularly because if there's a need to deploy the National Guard into combat. Or overseas, or they will have to be in the service, and we're doing. California's doing that. So the commandant, in other words, the commandant, backed up by the governor, is backing up the transgender members of the guard, and so anyways, there's a real. They're putting their necks on the line. Frankly, they're taking a risk. They're taking a risk. I know. Wow, thank you very much. So they're taking a risk right now. Let's not forget that. But it's just what it is, and they're backing up. And when the commandant is involved, that's as high as you can get within that organization. Sorry, but I could thank Daniel Costa.
No problem. So hi guys, hi everybody on Facebook. My name is Daniel Costa, and first of all, I would like to thank the LGBTQ community for having us, and Hannah and Hannah for organizing all this, because, like the panel says, I personally had never been to an event like that, and so we couldn't have done it without her. So I just wanted to mention that. Now, my experience, what I saw there, first of all, was people that were so tolerant of every other group. There were so many groups. There were corporate groups. There was Apple. There was things. There was a diversified crowd of people, and the whole community was so tolerant to have all these people, including us, within Independent California. And it was really a happy, joyful event with people celebrating everything that is the California values that we hold dear. So we were all on that same side as different groups and everything. We could come together with those values. And as we started,
Here. California values, indeed.
so as we started and we marched behind all the different groups and everything, my take on it, what I saw, and I agree with Neil with a lot of the things. The Viva got a lot of attention, etc. But this flag, people when they saw it, either clapped because they already knew about it in Independent California, or some were a bit taken aback at what this was. They had to contemplate Independent California, succeed with this. I could tell that they had not been exposed to the Independent California movement, but they didn't react in a bad way or anything. They were just, you could see their eyes contemplating the concept of this. And so the big takeaway of this is I think we had a huge impact in educating people that this was a possibility, and that they probably went home, talked about it, and said, you know, there was a group that was promoting Independent California with the Secede and the Pride flag, and basically we informed a lot of people that weren't exposed to that. And so, like Hannah said, if we can attend these kind of events more and more, and that it becomes familiar to them to see us at these events, and now the second time they're registering, they're going, yeah, I know about it in Independent California, I thought about it, yeah, clap, and you know, and they're very happy. So the takeaway with that is that we had great exposure, we had a good receptive audience, and it was a great experience. I would do it again anytime because the community was so welcoming to everybody, and there was this sense of peace and just coming together as different groups and really embracing everybody else. So for me, what I want to say is thank you again to the LGBTQ community for having us. We would like to come back, and that's basically it. And I just overall, I think we all had a great experience.
Yes,
and
we did.
And we would do it again, and I would be very proud to carry this again.
Okay, any questions from the audience? Anything you'd like to cover? Hal? Speak up a little, please.
Okay, the question is, how do we improve our outreach to the LGBTQ community to let them know that California independence is actually a benefit to them? How do we do this? Can we see a way forward?
The question is, thank you. The question is, how do we, as a movement, reach out to the LGBT community and show them that the independence of California would be beneficial to LGBT people or even necessary? I think I'll maybe pass this out, but I guess I can just simply say that a lot of it, like a lot of other communities, I think we need to use the media that they've already got. So writing articles or editorials or making somehow getting that message into those publications is, I think, an important one. Maybe another one, though, is to participate in other LGBT demonstrations. The Pride March in San Diego is, of course, one example of a Pride March. You know, it's supposed to be a political statement, and it is a political statement, and people kind of overlook that it's a political statement, right? But there are like events like just this week there will be later on this week there's going to be a demonstration in Chula Vista, California, to defend or to protest it's to provide support for LGBT people at the library. They do an event down there involving drag queens, I believe, reading to children. And an example. So what I'm trying to say is that if you go to those kind of events with Independent California banners, you won't be sent away. And most people will be glad. And like I said, it's just about getting people to, one, consider that this is a possibility for the future, and two, to see there's a real basic connection between them. Of course, the LGBT community is quite aware that Trump and the Republicans are totally targeting LGBT. They're using them as a scapegoat for all kinds of horrors. I might point out that as we speak, the Log Cabin Republican group is like in the process of disintegrating, because the Log Cabin Republican leadership decided to endorse Donald Trump for president of the United States in 2020. But there are a whole bunch of Log Cabin Republicans who are saying this guy is, anti-LGBT. And even though he's conservative, they like his other politics, boy, they cannot tolerate someone who's just literally wants to destroy them. So, and of course, Mike Pence does that. So I think those are the 2 points. Anyone else got some comments to that one?
Yeah, I would just like to add that this type of panel, what we're doing today, is one huge way to educate and to say that the LGBTQ community would follow, by falling under the umbrella of an independent California, could achieve all its goals that it wants, and many other organizations. So basically, by speaking and educating people and saying what we're about and why we're on their side, but by becoming an independent California, we can protect them better. We can protect this community better, and we can make sure that this doesn't happen. And it's only through an independent California that we can do that effectively. So that's just what I want to talk about.
It's a very complicated question.
John?
Yeah, I did want to take a stab at that one. And, just as a marketer myself, what I would encourage people in the independence movement to do is to reach out to your local LGBT community, find out if there's a local resource center. For instance, Oceanside has a North County LGBTQ resource center. And they're very supportive of us. And
Get on their email
politics.
list. That's PFLAG and the center, and they all,
Exactly.
your local groups all have
Exactly.
email
And
lists.
to utilize the fact that we have social media, which is largely a free platform to reach out to people in your area, find out what the local LGBT pages and groups are, share your content there, and start to create the conversation about how LGBT liberation is the same as California liberation, in that we want to be recognized and we want to be respected.
That's profound.
Neil? Okay, then we're going to end this panel.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
All right.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
We'll see you soon.